We know every week has a very specific energy. And this week, it's all about how to make decisions. How to make decisions. Now, there's a process that we all go through before we make a decision. Usually, what happens is our desires run what we do, but we're usually not totally aware of our desires. This is how it works. First comes our desire, then comes our thoughts, then comes our intention, then come the words, then come our actions. So the desires which are around us and influence us from our environment, or the energy of our environment, is where things begin. Then our thoughts, the thoughts that are running around in our brain, is the next step, which is influenced by our desires. Then our intentions within our heart is the next step of influence. And then what we say and what we do. Now, keep in mind that the first three things, desire, thought, and intentions, are not something that other people see. We think we may know what someone else has on their mind or why they do what they do, but we don't really know. We do see or hear words of others and ourselves, and we do see the actions. So those two things are revealed. We see those. But the desires, thoughts, and intentions are concealed from us. It's important to keep in mind. So now we know every week has a very specific vibration or energy, and the Zohar portion or the Bible portion of each particular week reflect that energy to us. So that things that we go through, whether we realize it or not, conscious or not, generally not on a conscious level, will be affected by that general vibration. Now, when we're more in tune, we can, of course, take better advantage and do more with what we have, according to what's available. So this week is called The Story of the Spies. It's a famous story whereby Moses sends the heads, the 12 heads of the tribes of the Israelites, into the land of what was then called Canaan. Later it became known as Israel. He sent them into Canaan to check it out, to check out the place, to see, what's going on over there. Is this place a good place to live? And one of the strange things that Moses asked them to look for was to see if there was a tree over there. Yes, you heard it right. A tree. Not if there were trees, not forests. A tree. Go see if there is a tree or not. Fine. Anyhow, 10 of those individuals came back with very difficult things. Complaints. There were giants. There's not enough food. And we're going to be, beaten up, and so on. The people are too strong. Basically, what they said, in a nutshell, 10 of the 12 said, it's not a good place to be. 2, and now those were the exceptions, their names were Caleb and Joshua. They both came with very positive reports and said, yes, this is a great thing. We can do this. We can do it. So what's interesting here is what the Zohar says. The Zohar says something very, very interesting. The Zohar says that Moses already knew where these people were at. He knew what their desires were. And what was their desires? Their desires were that they were the chieftains of the tribes. They were the heads of the tribes. They were very, very important people. They held very important positions. So they knew that once they would land into the land of Israel, their positions would be history. Things would change. They would lose their jobs, in effect, and no longer be empowered the way they were. other things would happen. They would lose their positions. As a result, they came back with the reports that they came back with. And they were, again, 10 out of 12 for the most part, bad reports, and they said, we shouldn't do it. They made a decision. Now, there's several very, very important lessons here, but there's one I want to focus on, and this is what's the mechanism of our decision-making process and what needs to happen for us to make better decisions. You see, ultimately, these people died. Of course, they were not ready. Moses knew they were not ready. In fact, this was their test by sending them in. He knew they were not ready, but he had to check them anyway. What made them not ready? What was it that made them not ready to be able to see? And how is it that one person can see the same situation as good and another see the same situation as bad? By the way, we experience this all the time. A person sees the glass half empty. Another person sees the same glass half full. Someone sees a difficult situation that they find themselves in as an opportunity. Another sees it as a disaster. We all go through this all the time. So what's going on? What's the catch? Now the secret here is where everything begins. Where did we say everything begins? You're right, desires. The first stage of everything, what we call the keter, is desires. Now, if we would examine these people, what was their desire? Their desires were that they want to keep what they have. They already had an agenda starting out in the process. And very often, we already have an agenda. We like someone, we don't like someone. We're waiting for someone to make a mistake so we can justify not liking them. It happens sometimes. Or whatever the situation may be. Sometimes we make decisions. We make decisions based on fear. In our head, we're afraid of something. We're judgmental on something. We already have desires. We're afraid of a competition. So we already figure out ways how to knock out that competition before it even begins. Maybe it's a good thing. Maybe the situation would have been a good thing for me and I lose an opportunity because of my fears and the decisions that I made. So these individuals, what they did was already made the decision before they went in. And therefore they saw what they saw. So they saw bad because they already decided, without really knowing it, without really understanding it, to see bad because their desires were selfish or egotistical or self-serving. Their purpose was a self-serving agenda to begin with. What was right from the get-go? What is it that we need to do? Now, what was the difference between the other two? Caleb and Joshua went in and they saw, oh, it's good. So number one, they went in open-minded, ready for anything. That's something that we need to learn. Going into a situation in an open-minded way and not predetermining, not prejudging, not judging the situation based on my personal desires of what I want. So this is a very, very important thing. Number two, they were ready to let go of their results. Now, how do we know if we're ready to make a decision? I mean, we all, especially if we want to be spiritual people, we all want to make better decisions. We also want to know that the decision that we're making is the right one. Therefore, we also need to be open to messages. Sometimes the universe will give us a message, but we're not necessarily open to hear it. So the creative energies are always there waiting to give us the right answers of truth. One of our major problems in life is we're just not connected to our subconscious. We have all of the answers already to everything that we can do. Our subconscious is created with the universal energy. The problem is we're not that connected to our subconscious. The subconscious in Kabbalah is called the upper three, the Keter Chochma Bina, or what we call Chaya Yichida and Neshama Chaya Yichida. That's for the advanced group. So those parts of our subconscious which already have all the answers that we'll ever need, all the truth, and all the information for us, the information about everything, in fact, answers for everything. But we are disconnected. What disconnects us is our own negative opinions and personal agendas and our egos, and that's what separates. So we don't see the truth even though it may be right there staring us in the face. So we need the right answer. Maybe it's about an investment. Maybe it's about a relationship. Who should I marry? Who should I go out with? Who should I stay away from? But we're not open. Sometimes we're already married to the result and we can't let go. So being willing to let go of the result is a major operation for us sometimes. But that's where we need to get to. So how do we know when we're ready to make a decision? A, when we've made effort to cleanse our desire as we're going in. In other words, I don't have my own personal agenda. I may want something, but the way to purify it is, I want this, yes. But I am also willing to let go of it to the same degree that I desire it. Now that takes a lot of work. And that's the work to get to be able to make a decision. I want this, yes. But I'm willing to let go of it as much as I want it. So I'm willing, if it's a yes or no question, I'm willing to take a yes the same way I'm willing to take a no. And once I'm balanced in that, I'll be able to see more clearly the truth of what I really need to do and what really needs to happen over here. So just to summarize, our decisions are always going to be based on the root of our desire. The outcome of what we'll say, the outcome of what we'll do is always going to be based in the root of our desire. Problem is, we're generally not really aware of the agendas that are attached to our desires. So, what we need to do in a nutshell is work at purifying our desires. How? By being willing to let go and be open about the results I will get. If I want this to happen, and I'm not open about that, then I'm likely to make a mistake. And mistakes are going to happen. Or from fears, or from prejudice, you name it. We have all kinds of things, self-importance, ego, all those things that play upon us and work at our desires, that make our desires not clean. And so again, it's not about being a holy person, but if we want to make better decisions in our life and we want better outcomes, then we really need to work at purifying our own desires so that the decisions that will ultimately result almost automatically will be better for us and better for the people around us in our life. They'll make us just plain happier. The energy for that is available this week, to be able to let go and release the results and just work towards purifying our desires.